you ever felt like no matter what you do as a coach, it's never quite right? You're either too tough or you're too soft. You're too emotional or too distant. You're too demanding, but not demanding enough. To be honest, it's hard to ignore the double standard here. Men can be intense, but they're called passionate. They're direct. They're seen as strong as leaders. And when women are intense, they're too much. When she demands more, she's hard to work with. And when she wins a lot, people question her motives. Here's a story I'll never forget. Someone told me recently, actually two people back to back, kind of through the grapevine, I heard that, Bre, all she cares about is winning. It was meant as criticism. And honestly, I kept thinking back to my husband, who is a football coach, track coach. Honestly, that would be a compliment because winning is the goal, right? And here's the thing. Of course I care about winning. That's why I built a culture of accountability, trust, and leadership, because you know what leads to more wins? Confident athletes who can handle pressure, a team that trusts each other, a program where every player knows they belong and they matter. So if winning means that I care about the environment where my athletes thrive, then yeah, I'll proudly own that. But for a long time, I felt like I had to coach the right way. And in order to coach the right way, I had to sacrifice being who I was. I had to be tougher. I had to be louder. I had to be more serious in order to be taken seriously, until I realized that my coaching style wasn't a weakness. It's actually my biggest strength. And I'm going to be talking today about why your coaching style is actually your superpower. In this episode, I'm going to be breaking down how to free yourself from this double standard that exists for us as female coaches, the strengths you likely already have, but don't realize it, and how to lead with confidence without overcompensating or burning out. And I haven't met you. I'm Coach Bre. I'm a mental performance coach and a longtime head volleyball coach and a mom. I know firsthand what it's like to juggle building an elite program while also balancing life as a woman and a mom in this coaching field. And that's why I've created Coach Her Game, the podcast for coaches who want to develop confident, mentally tough athletes and stay true to who they are in the process. In this podcast, we ditch the old school coaching playbook and we focus on what really works: mental training, leadership, and culture, so that you can build a program that you're proud of without burning out. Sound good? All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about how we can break free of this double standard that we know all exists. We've been conditioned that there is one way to coach. And to be totally honest, when I first became a coach, I just kind of coached how I saw other people coaching. And I also was young when I got into coaching. I mean, my first head coaching job was a club volley. I don't even really count this in my coaching experience, but it was there. I was a head volleyball coach when I was 21 years old and in the club setting. I took over my first program when I was 23, and the program that I'm at right now, I've been here for 10 years, and I took that program over when I was 27. So I was young. I felt like I had to really prove myself, which in many ways was true. But in order to do that, I felt like I had to be very serious. I had to be very demanding, no nonsense. You can't pull anything over me, no excuses. I just had kind of this rigid way of going about things because I felt like I had to, and honestly, because I was a little insecure. I didn't want people to not take me seriously, so I kind of had to be over the top, right? And we talk here about this old school versus new playbook and why the old way doesn't really work. And part of that old belief system that I held was that authority equals respect. You can't show emotion. Mental toughness meant you got to figure it out and just get over it. No excuses. Players should adjust to you, not the other way around. If you don't like it, sorry. Winning matters, but really, let's be honest, only if a man does it. Okay, that might be a little bit of a stretch, but honestly, and here's why this really doesn't work anymore. Today's athletes need trust. They need connection. They need belief in order to perform their best. And the best coaches don't demand respect. They earn it by creating an environment where their athletes thrive. And the best way you can do that is to honestly be yourself. Athletes can sense it. Teenagers can pick up on it. It's like they can sniff it out that when you're not being yourself and you're just kind of putting on a show, they can sense the inauthenticity in that. So instead of trying to prove yourself or coach the way you think you should, let's talk about what actually works and the strengths of being a female coach in this field. And if you're not a female coach, you are totally welcome to still listen to this, because you likely have some of these qualities too that you might actually be, not letting shine through in your coaching, when it would actually benefit your athletes if you did. All right. So the key strengths of being a female coach, things that we should lean into a little bit: emotional intelligence, understanding what drives your athletes and helping them navigate their emotions and teach them how to handle pressure. Connection and communication. Strong relationships equals stronger performance. Athletes play their best when they feel seen, heard, and validated. And this holistic approach to leadership, not just coaching players, but developing leaders. Now, that's very loaded. You're like, well, how the heck do I do all of that? Okay, well, that's why this podcast exists. That's why our YouTube channel exists. So we break all this down, we give you tangible strategies. And that's kind of a, 10,000 foot view of how this could actually be one of your superpowers, connecting with your athletes, kind of sensing what they're going through, coaching more than just their physical skills. Okay. So you're not, so by bringing this into your coaching, you're not actually doing a disservice to your athletes. In fact, you're doing a disservice to them by not leaning into that side of your coaching. And very simple ways that I do this with athletes. We do check-ins on a weekly basis where I have individual meetings with athletes. I check in before practice. We do our 10-second daily routine. That's over on the YouTube channel if you want to check out our 10-second daily check-in with athletes. A really simple way to touch base. I do incorporate mental training so that they do have these emotional regulation skills. And I'll talk about another kind of key thing that I had to make a shift and a switch to early on in my coaching career in order for me to actually be in coaching as long as I am and as long as I wanted to be. Okay. So the key takeaway here is you're not too much, you're not too soft, you're not too demanding. You're leading in a way that you want to lead. And that's exactly why we need more coaches doing that. But let's talk about how to lead with confidence without overcompensating or bringing out, because I know we can kind of swing the pendulum in, too far in either direction. And I know this probably sounds cliche, but one of the key things that you can do as a coach is to be yourself. Like I said at the beginning, I was being somebody else for a long time because I thought that's what I had to be. And one of the most freeing moments as a coach was when I realized that my athletes actually liked it when I am more myself around them. So when I say more myself, I like to make fun of myself. I like to incorporate humor into our day to day. We decided to start doing a talent show in our program every year. And this talent show, it's just kind of your standard run-of-the-mill talent show. You come with a talent and you do your thing. I have for a long time, I don't know where this came from, but I like to take songs and make parodies of them. So the first example of this, I can't believe I'm sharing this, was when I was working at Jamba Juice. Okay. I was working at Jamba Juice in high school and, it was a slow day and I got the Fergalicious song stuck in my head, Fergalicious okay. Yeah, you got it. And I changed that into Jambalicious definition, and then I created a whole song about it. Okay. I don't know why my brain just does this thing. And, so I decided for one of these talent shows, I was going to make a parody of my team's season, to the tune of Miley Cyrus's Party in the USA. And so I did this, dressed up in the whole shebang. I got this red jumpsuit that was 3 sizes too small. I got it from Goodwill. And I went up and I did a performance and did this parody. And I was doing this in front of teenagers, a tough crowd. Okay. But to be honest, it was hilarious. Mostly cringy, but hilarious, but it started a tradition, started a thing. Now, every single year, at this point, I don't know how I'm going to one up myself because I've been doing this for 5 years running. I've been Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I've been Taylor Swift. So, but honestly, it's been one of the most freeing things for me because I'm bringing a little bit of personality in a way that allows athletes to see a different side of me. And I'm not saying that you have to do that, full bore, but where can you bring a little bit more of yourself into your coaching, into your program so that athletes can be free to actually be themselves as well. Psychological safety is huge for athletes in order to compete their best. And psychological safety means that, I can be myself and I belong here. I'm okay. I can dress up as Miley Cyrus and do a parody to Party in the USA and people are just going to be okay with me. They might think it's a little weird, but you know what? I'm all right. Okay. So where can you do that? Okay. Avoiding the next big thing was avoiding the overcompensation trap. Like I said, swinging the pendulum too far in one direction or the other. And you got to have some emotional awareness as a coach. You've got to check in with yourself. A lot of my coaching journey that I also didn't realize along the way was where's my ego? What am I like? What's this bringing up in me? And sometimes when I feel like I have to be tougher, I have to like, really prove myself. I have to suppress like who I am in order to be accepted and liked as a coach. I can't tell you how many times, I have a male assistant coach, and refs go up to my assistant because he's a guy, asking him for the lineup, even though I'm literally writing the lineup right there. I'm the one warming up the team. I'm the one, doing all the things. Yeah. And so sometimes I see that and I'm like, oh, I've got to like, overcompensate for that. And I'm like, you know what? That's actually on the ref. Yeah, like that's their issue, that they've got those blinders on, that they think like automatically, my assistant who's a male is the head coach. Okay. But where can you actually be aware of where you might be swinging that pendulum like too far in the opposite direction? And because you're going to burn out, you're honestly going to like I felt exhausted. I didn't like going to practice because I felt like I just wasn't myself. Okay. Instead, leaning into authentic leadership, leading in a way that feels right for you, strategic confidence, right? Trusting your approach while setting clear expectations and creating those boundaries around who you are as a coach. And that takes, like I said, a lot of reflection, a lot of time, honestly, coaching to be able to recognize this in yourself. Okay. Two other things that have really helped me in this area: leaning on your staff to fill the gaps. You don't have to be everything. You can't. Okay. But you just have to know your strengths and surround yourself with people who fill in the rest. Right. I love being in charge of the direction of the program. I love being the visionary. I love setting up an environment for athletes where they thrive and creating systems for them for accountability and for leadership. Like that is my jam. I love it. I love practice planning, and I love like creating all of that strategy. I love connecting with players. But you know what? I don't love always handling a lot of the emotional side of the sport. Okay, that might come as a surprise to you. Yes, we train the mental side of the game. We help athletes with their emotional regulation, but I have a coach on my staff who loves doing that. She loves getting into it with athletes. Like, just spill it all out. What's going on with your day? Like, just tell me it all. Like, I have a hard time, holding space for that. A lot of it because I've got a lot of other things that I'm making sure that I'm doing. But this coach on my staff like is strategically filling that position in a very good way, right? She's got clear boundaries around what that looks like and all of that. But she fills that. She is like the teddy bear. She's the emotional teddy bear that athletes know that they can go to. Okay. I've got a coach on my staff who is super detail oriented. Like, he'll break down arm swing, and he'll break down footwork. Okay. He can see things that I can't see. And I used to be like, oh, should I be looking at that? Should I be seeing that? No, like let them do that. Let them fill the gaps. Lean into what you're good at. Now I know that we might not always be able to like hire perfectly for all of these things, but the more aware you are of what your strengths are and the more aware of where the gaps are, the more that you can fill those. Okay. So, and then the other thing is striking this balance of demanding yet caring. That's what I always am like, okay, how can I strike the balance, set the high standard, but also be that coach that's like, I care about you. That's why I'm holding this standard. Okay. And pushing them hard, but giving them the tools to succeed. So you can coach with heart and expect greatness. Okay. The best leaders do both. And honestly, I know that a lot of this stuff is theory in this episode. You're like, okay, this all sounds great, but like, how do I actually do this? As we go along in these episodes, we'll break things down. I'll give you quick tips and strategies on how I do this, what I've learned through mental training, what works there as well to help with all of this. And also on our YouTube channel, we've got a lot of resources there where we break all of this down. And if you want a quick way to kind of dive into the mental side of it, we have a training specifically for coaches on how you can train the mental side of the game in as little as 30 minutes a week. We have a plug and play way to do that. If you go to coach.elitecompetitor.com/training, so that's coach.elitecompetitor.com/training, you can check out that training for coaches. And it's just a really easy way for you to incorporate mental training, which leads to all of these other wonderful things in your program that we talk about in this podcast. All right. If this resonated with you, make sure to hit subscribe, share with another coach who needs to hear it. Remember, your leadership style is your superpower. In this next episode, coming up in episode 3, we're going to be diving into how my team has won 4 state championships in the past 4 years. It's true. I honestly can't believe it myself. This just happened this past fall. I'm like, did we really do that again? And some tips that you can steal from me on how we did that and things that I would actually do differently, even with the success that we've had. So I'll see you there.